I found it first. Miraculous Ladybug, Lukanette, fanfiction. One-shot fanfiction.
I have a girlfriend.
Really?
Who?
If only he could have taken those words back. He would have. Luka stares at his friend with a trying expression on his face. Trying not to shout, trying not to cry, trying not to react in a negative way. And clearly he's not the only one, because his friend's new girlfriend has those slight contortions on her face too. His friend can't tell he's blinded to the train wreck they're narrowly avoiding, and probably hasn't known her long enough to read all of her little facial expressions. Luka, however, has known her for longer and knows what that little eyebrow twitch means.
Meet Marinette.
Adrian glows like he found gold, which is true in a metaphorical way.
She's in my calc and the best person ever,
he proclaims. Luka wants to say, dude, I know, but he refrains. He puts on a smile and nods, still trying to find the right words to say. What should he say? The truth? The modified truth? A complete lie so that this wouldn't get any more awkward? I'm Marinette. She puts her hand out gingerly. It's nice to meet you. A complete lie, apparently, is what they're just going with.
Luka,
he says stiffly, shaking her hands. They're just as warm as he last remembers them to be. Small, delicate, but oddly strong and firm. She gives a sharp inhale and all but tears her hands away. He doesn't blame her in the slightest, because if she didn't do so, he may have just burst into tears. It's familiar in the worst possible way.
So, how long have you been together?
Luka swallows his memories and asks.
2 weeks,
Adrian beams.
It was terrifying to ask her out,
he admits with a laugh. For no reason, too, Marinette says with a laugh and nudges his side. It was so obvious how much I liked him. Constantly tripping over my words, always wanting to bolt every second I saw him so I wouldn't make a fool out of myself. I think everyone on planet Earth knew before he finally worked up the courage. They look at each other and smile, and it takes everything inside of Luka to not run away and hide forever. He wants to, though. God, he really wants to flee.
That sounds like Adrian.
Luka manages swallowing the lump in his throat. There's something deep in his chest that just broke and probably screamed his vocal cords raw. No matter, he has to pretend like nothing is out of the ordinary. Adrian doesn't know, and well, does he really need to?
He's too shy for his own good.
Luka jokes, shaking his head and pushing past all of the emotions that are stuck swirling in his chest, making it so hard to breathe.
I can't even say that's wrong.
Adrian laughs, swinging his arms around Marinette's shoulders. Luka just knows it. He has to leave or else he might just break. Or maybe he's already broken into 1,000,001 pieces that very second that he saw her face again. And right now he's just trying to clean up the broken pieces before someone else missteps and gets hurt. He's been thinking a lot. And thinking a lot in his room. His roommates haven't prodded him on why he's fallen back into his emo, angsty teen phase. They've only come in to bring him dinner from the night that he was supposed to go and meet up with old friends from college. There are many days Luka appreciates his friends and roommates, and this is one of them. It's only been 3 days, and he's written more songs and choruses than he can possibly count, or possibly in all of his life combined. Some of them sound good and kind of cool, and he might show them to his producer friends and actually get something out of it. The others are just kind of sad and lonely and something that he never wants another person to see, much less record and listen to. Luka is face down on his bed, trying to work out the screaming in his head and the crying in his chest. Luckily, he has another week to try and put his mind back right. He got lucky, alright, getting this news delivered during a break in the school year. Although lucky is not the word that he'd describe it with. The door creaks open and he just mutters a hello to his roommates and tells them to just put the takeout box on the table as well as a thank you for bringing him food again. Sorry. I don't come bearing gifts, though I do have some tea. That voice makes him bolt upright like he's been struck by lightning. And well, considering the face he sees, being shocked by electricity doesn't seem so bad. She smiles, and it's just as nice and sweet as it was when he first met her. There's almost a part of him that hates it, as terrible as that may sound. "Hi," she says awkwardly. He doesn't mean to sound harsh. "What are you doing here?" But it happens anyways. She doesn't seem offended by it, more so than anything. She looks like she knew that he'd react this way. Actually, if she didn't know it was coming, he'd probably be more upset. I feel we're due for a talk, aren't we?" A talk. Just a talk. A really long talk. They've been due for a talk for years now. There's so much to say about it all, and he wants to speak none of those words. They've been in the back of his head for so long, he'd just rather keep them there. But now she wants to talk. Now she wants to open all of it, and get up and walk out the door and right into her boyfriend's house for dinner or something. She may want to talk about it all, but Luca's not sure he wants to. Sure, he's being curt. She can tell exactly what's going on in his mind. She always has been able to, and it goes both ways. It's a silent stare down between them. Who will break first and open that locked cage? "Look, Marinette takes a deep breath. "I didn't know you and Adrian knew each other." Luca shrugs. "It's a new friendship," he states, "and it's fine." When her eyes meet his, it's like they've been pulled back to their senior year of high school. His heart aches for and from those days. Back then, they smiled and laughed and held hands while telling everyone that there's nothing going on. They would go back to his house and curl up in those blankets and watch that one same show over and over and over together until they could both say the script by memory. Back then, Luca got to smile when he saw just the top of her head bouncing because she never really knew how to control her excitement. And it was the most endearing thing ever. It's not like that anymore. They don't talk about everything and anything and nothing at once. They sit in silence, knowing that there's so much to say and so much to explain, but not even in the entire English language is there enough or the right words to express it. "Do you like him?" he asks in a quiet voice. She nods meekly. "Yeah," she says. A lot, actually." "The way you like to be?" Marinette is silent. So is he. Was it really a crush, what they had? Could he really say that he liked her and she liked him? Because it always felt like more than that. It feels like it's time to admit it was more than that. Was. Not is. I think, she starts out, "I think we had something more like love," Marinette admits, looking at her hands. "Maybe it was the step right before love? Or maybe the one right after? I don't really know." She pauses. "We were 18 back then. It was more than I think either of us knew what to do with." She's not wrong, but it doesn't dull the pain in any way. Knowing something is true doesn't make it hurt any less. Luca only nods because, yeah, whatever they had and whatever they were, it was right before and right after love, too. It had been important and meaningful and real, but not real enough for a name. They never defined what they were, other than friends, which was the one thing that they certainly were not. Despite what they told their friends, they weren't dumb and they weren't fooled. He and Marinette, they were something, but no one, least of all them, knew what it was. Does it feel like that with him? He's breaking his own heart asking this question, and he knows it, but he has to ask. He has to look at her in the eye and know if everything that they were is just so easily replaced, or if it actually meant something. She's quiet, probably thinking of all the movie nights and the walks around the park and the pond, and the few times they went to the mall and ran into friends and had to say that they weren't anything official while holding hands and blushing. Or maybe she's thinking of the slowly delaying texts and the fewer phone calls as university applications ramped up and they got busier with things that they always set aside for each other before. Or maybe she's thinking of that last hug at the end of graduation, when they both knew that it was over. No, not really, she admits, and it brings a little more life into his lungs. Not usually, at least. She crosses her arms around her body when she's scared. It's oddly comforting to know that she still does that. Sometimes it feels like it's all nearly the same, and then something just makes it a little bit different. Like, if we go out for ice cream, he doesn't know my order yet, but I'll just think for a moment that he'll say it. The unspoken, like you always did, is heard by the both of them. Luca's throat is dry and he just wants to crawl back into his bed and sleep. Meredith seems to want to leave as well. Even now they can read each other's like open books. Well, he manages out, I hope you two are happy for a very long time. He doesn't mean it maliciously, but it hits them both deeply. Meredith nods and stands to leave his bedroom. She turns back for a second, giving him one last smile before closing the door behind her. Luca throws the pillow over his face and closes his eyes, willing for the day to end. They wanted to be happy together for a long time, as whatever they were, but she'll just have to be happy with someone else and he'll have to move on too. He just hopes that she knows it will never truly be like them, even if it feels like it just might be.